Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of my 100 live sales call series. It's possible this could be a part 2.5, depending on how long it is. This video is going to primarily focus on 50 live sales call at the end. So when we've already given price, money has already come out of our mouth, and we're waiting for the yes or no response. What did our agents do? Did they get an objection? Did they just get that sounds good? We're going to listen to 50 of those, talk about what happened, what didn't happen. What you'll probably find is that a lot of the objections that the agents are getting, unfortunately, were caused by not doing the work in the presentation, right? Not identifying those holes, covering them, and kind of doing the objection prevention that makes asking for the money at the end a whole lot easier. If you are just now finding this channel, thanks for being here. My name is Dana Neeson. I run a pretty large telesales team for Tailored Legacy. We only sell one product over the phone, Final Expense Insurance with one carrier in 17 states. And my job is to help you guys have stronger, more sophisticated sales conversations. All right, I'm excited to get started, dig into these calls. Disclaimer, same as the part 1. I have not listened to any of these calls in advance. I'm just pulling up any conversations that lasted more than 20 minutes, whether or not they resulted in a sale. Just last week alone, we had almost 500 conversations over 20 minutes, and it looks like we converted just about 35% of those. So there could be a mix of ones that were sold, ones that weren't sold. Can I also just say I am blown away by the response that I got from part 1. Thank you so much for taking that moment and giving the video a like, as well as taking 3 seconds and leaving me a comment. It made me so happy to see the engagement on that video, and let's start on our calls.
Any of the options, the next step would be to get our underwriting department on the line. That way they can run a prescription history check and make sure that you do have the approval. Does that make sense?
Yes. You're switching me to somebody else now?
No, I'm not going to switch you anywhere. No, ma'am. I'm going to be on the line with you. If we find something agreeable, I'm going to stay on the line with you. Yeah, I'm going to stick with you the entire process. And then after that, I can send everything out to you by an email, so you do have time to look at it before it goes into effect. Okay? Now, the first option.
You need a raise, honey. You need a raise for all this. You need a raise for all this.
I appreciate it. Yeah, those
are
my words.
You know, I like the way you speak, your dialect. Also, you know, I'm a senior citizen, so you don't use all these fancy words and so forth. I get my dictionary out because I do.
Right.
And I mean, you're just very polite. I really appreciate that because a lot of them aren't. So I hang up the phone with the quickness.
Right, I get it. Well, no problem.
Really?
I appreciate your kind words. Yes, ma'am. Now, the first option, this is a $5,000 policy.
Did they hear that?
Well, you know what? I'll let them know. This is recorded, so they'll hear that. But I appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Okay.
Mr.
Now,
Malik needs a raise.
I appreciate you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Now, the first option, this is $5,000, which is more than enough to cover those costs of a cremation. This is for $39.40 per month. But if you want it more than that, I have a $7,000 policy.
Wow.
This one is for $51.90.
Let me write this down now. Okay. Now you said for 5,000.
Yes,
right?
Ma'am. Yes,
5,000. It would be how much a month?
It would be for $39.40 per month.
$39.40. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you want it more than that, I have a $7,000 policy. This one is for $51.96 per month.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want it more than that, I do have a $10,000 for $70.80 per month. Now, between these three options, which one? Yes, $70
and how much?
and 80 cents per month. So $70.80. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's,
Now,
that's what everybody
between-
usually get, I guess, is 1,000.
Yeah, people, they get that, but you can go as high as 35. But between these options, which one would best fit your budget, or did you want something lower than 5,000 or something higher than 10?
Oh, well, I'm looking at the one in between that you told me about, the 7,000. And
Yeah, that's more than
especially
enough.
if you, to the 10,000, is that gonna be a problem?
No, ma'am. You can always increase your amount of coverage at a later date. A lot of people do that, so that's not going to be an issue. So I'll put it down for the 7,000.
Oh,
Now, you said Michelle, your sister, she's going to be the beneficiary on this. Did I hear you right?
my sister Michelle, I would put my,
Okay. So we got no objections in our first call, but one of the things I want you to start noticing as we go through these calls is the ones that don't give any objections were already sold before the price was given. And that's the ultimate goal of what you want to do. You want to get so good at getting people in that emotional peak of wanting to move forward with you, regardless of what options you're going to give them. It's just going to be based upon what's the most affordable. So this agent obviously did a fantastic job in his presentation. Had to come over, no objections, just had to pick the policy that made the most sense. So great job.
Because of age, I want to keep it, around that $89. So
right,
for the 5,000 plus the full services where you don't have to worry about it, your family does not have to come down here to do all those arrangements. We'll take care of that for you. You would have told us what to do, okay? And so it'll be taken care of by the time you get down, be done immediately. And also, if you should pass away from an accident, they'll get up to $100,000. You should pass away 200 miles away from home, it would be $5,000 extra, okay? And now the total for everything is, for $5,000 would be $91.15. Okay, just $1 or $2 over.
$91.15.
That's it. $91.15, that's it. And that takes care of everything, exactly the way you want it. Do you have a regular checking account that the money goes into every month?
Oh, yeah.
Because they would have to draft, they would have to draft.
Yeah.
What's your email? I'll send you all my information.
All right. My email is.
I can get them to start it today.
Let me have your number and call you back.
Okay, do you have an email?
Yeah.
What's your email? I'll send you all my information.
All right. My email is.
Okay, hold on a minute. Let me make sure I get it to you. Okay. There we go. Yeah, look in the junk. Sometimes it goes into spam or something like that. Okay. And now the number that comes directly to me is the direct number. Call that number. Would it be today or next week?
Yeah. Be next week.
Which one would? Next week. Okay.
All right. So we have a lot to unpack with this call. My interpretation of the end of this call is we offered a price. My guess is this customer was probably older and modified, which is why the 5,000 was a lot more expensive than the first call. And we got the objection, which was just give me your name and number and I'll call you back. And then the agent immediately responded with, well, let me just send it to you by email, right? Kind of offering to end the call at this point, which, gosh, you guys, if you're going to spend an hour on the phone with someone, the last thing you want to do is just let them go, because the chances of you getting them back on the phone again are probably 0%. So this is how I teach the agents to really do the work in overcoming objections. The selling really doesn't start until you get your first no. because the hardest part of the whole sales process is getting into the conversation, right? The first 30 seconds. And then what you do if somebody is giving you resistance at the end. Everything else in the middle, almost anybody can do. You're really just a customer service representative. And as long as you are trained to ask the right questions, listen for verbal cues, use different tonality, then your presentation becomes more of a true sales process. But really the hardest part is the beginning and the end. So can I get your name and number and call you back? Yeah, of course. I'm happy to give you all that information. Just ask, is this even something you want to have, right? Can I just ask real quick? Of course, I'll get you my information. Do you feel like this program is even something you want to have? And my guess is after we went through all the information, this particular agent probably didn't do any of these kind of trial closes to make sure that the customer even saw value in it. Because remember, it doesn't matter how you, the agent, feels about it. It only matters how your customer feels about it. So if you're going through your whole sales process and just talking about how great you think it is, but you're not challenging your customer to tell you how great they think it is, they're going to end up wanting to think about it because there was really no sort of sense of emotional urgency. So, but if you do happen to get that objection at the end, you still have to try. You can't just volunteer to send an email and just move on to the next call because you never know when your next call is going to be. Of course, I can send you my information. Can I just ask you something though? Do you feel like this program is the answer for you? Do you feel like this program is even, what you want to have for your family? Okay. Well, yeah, of course I do. Okay. Well, would you mind maybe just refreshing me on what about the program you liked the most? What part about it do you think would benefit your family the most? You have to get them back into the emotional urgency of why they even want it in the first place before you can ask for money again or push people into an approval. And in this case, that wasn't even done. It was just, let me just send you an email. So we have to go into, okay, so you like it because of this, and this. And kind of the only thing stopping you from wanting to move forward at this point is kind of sounds like you want to think about it. Is that right? So the customer didn't actually say, I want to think about it. He just said, let me get your name and number and I'll call you back. So you don't actually really even know what the objection is. So it's your job to sort of mine for that objection and feel it out. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a price objection. So pre-handling some of that stuff in the beginning is really important. So I would try and figure out if it's the price. And if it is the price, okay, money aside then, do you like this program? Do you feel this program would help you? And you have to try and drill down from there to get the decision on this call. You can't just go for a callback. And the decision is okay to be a no, but you can't just schedule a callback and just continue to chase your clients all day. You have to get either a yes, we're going to move forward at a price that's comfortable, or we're going to get a no, this one isn't for me, and I'm going to keep searching for something else. So, lesson for call number 2, we didn't even try.
All right. Okay, so that's is that all? I mean, okay. How about that first one that you say about $80 a month? How much was that going to be?
That was $5,000 of coverage.
Okay.
Plus the accidental.
Right.
And one great thing with this is, what we like to do is recommend starting, small, because you can always add additional coverage if need be.
Right.
So,
okay.
Don't feel like you have to get everything figured out exactly right today.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, it would just be, we can finish submitting or finish filling out the application and submit it, and then call the underwriters to find out, just exactly what you could qualify for.
Okay.
And then, we can just go from there.
Well, sounds good. Sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well,
so I'm gonna you're gonna send me a letter, an application, so I can write it down and put all the information and turn it in.
No, we can do that right now. Yeah, we can do that right now. And,
I would have to wait until the third of the month so that I can
Okay.
make my first payment.
that's not a problem. We can put a start date. And actually, when so it comes out on the 3rd.
The third of every month, yes, I get paid.
Okay. So what I would recommend doing is waiting until maybe the 4th, so
Okay.
that
I got you, yes.
just in case, yeah, just to make sure that the money has time to go in before Lincoln tries to draft it.
Okay.
Is what we
So
like. Wait.
is there a way that they can get my money automatically every month from my check?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, they couldn't do it straight from your. They couldn't do it straight from your check, but they can draft it from your account.
Right. Okay. Just to really make sure that I won't have to be like, you know, like I gotta pay this, I gotta pay that, I gotta pay this, I gotta pay, you know, the bills and stuff. And
Yeah,
then
I understand. Yeah,
I will get it out automatically every month. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And
We'll start at
yeah,
the
we
4th.
can do that.
So
And so checkbook laying around.
no checkbooks.
You don't use check? Okay. Yeah,
No,
that would
I
be
use a card.
okay. I mean, we could use a card as a placeholder, but we would need the, you know, just so we could go ahead and go through with the underwriters and make sure of everything. And then before we pull that first premium, change it over to the routing number and the account number.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, we could do that if you want to do that.
Well, that's it. I want to do everything on the 4th. I'm not.
Okay.
You know, I got your number here, so that's the same number, right?
This is one of the office numbers. When we, you know, before we get off the phone, I'll text you my direct contact, and you'll have all of my contact information. So that you can get in touch with me with any questions or anything that you have.
Okay.
Like I said, we can push this out. You know, we can set this up so that it does not start until, you know, when you say on the 4th.
Right. Okay.
You can go ahead and get it. So how long do you think you would need to be able to get the routing and the account numbers?
Oh, I can get that on Monday.
Okay. All right. Just so I can fill in another blank. I know you said it a while ago and I didn't write it down. So
All right, this call only lasts about 3 more minutes. There was a couple things that really stuck out to me about this call, but the main one that stuck out to me was when the customer did not have access to his routing and account number, but volunteered and said he has his card with him. I want to make sure everyone knows crystal clear. I do not like to accept debit cards or direct express cards, with the exception that if somebody does have an active checking or savings account, you will want to take any form of payment that they have to submit the application as a psychological means of making them feel like they are done, right? And our team, as long as we get that banking information converted prior to the first payment going through, then our agents still get their full commission, their full 75% advance. It only is a mess if they take the debit card as a placeholder and then allow that first payment to go through as a debit card, then that's when the problems rise, because there's basically next to nothing, commission for taking cards. So here's where this agent went wrong. He basically got the commitment from the customer that, yeah, we'll go ahead and start everything on the 4th. The objection really was, I don't have the banking info with me. And instead of saying, that's not a problem, go ahead and take out the Direct Express card. We'll put that information in as a placeholder. We'll move forward with the application. And then maybe next week, we'll get that updated to the routing and account number. Go ahead, I'm ready when you are, right? You have to take control of what comes next. The big mistake that this agent made was, well, I guess, we could take the card maybe as a placeholder if you want to do that. I mean, very unsure of himself. All of a sudden, his confidence level just crashed and burned. And the customer clearly felt that and just said, well, let's just wait, right? Let's just wait and do it on Monday. And what happens is your sale's gone, right? He hasn't actually completed the process of going through TeleApp, of getting the approval, of the congratulations, everything's done. The only thing we need is to switch the banking information. Instead, you let the customer go without an approval, without a completed application. So big mistake there is not having that confidence to guide the customer into the next step of the application. Good lessons here so far.
So, you know what, if we go back to 25, death only. Okay? Yeah, how much difference we talking about? Just death. So, death, you die. I don't want my son to pay for funeral. And my sister, the same thing. 25. How much we talking about?
For both?
Yeah, for both. 25,
both,
that's it.
the 25 and the 25 together would be $476.50.
A month?
Yes.
Just for 25 policy, for me, 25 for here, it'll be 400 some.
Yes, for both of you.
But what is $13? 50,000, your payment would be $13, what I see on the computer for senior.
Well,
I see this, 50,000,
Yeah,
98 a month.
well, I know that there's a lot of advertising out there that is.
That's why I like to speak to people because I go on the computer, they want your name, your phone number, your email, and then they start calling you. No, I want to talk in person, like me and you now talking. So that's not true, what they advertise.
No, not really. Because if you look, if they show any, they should have some fine print on there, but it'll say things like for as low as and up to. So you can get up to this amount for as low as. So it's never exactly what it looked like.
The whole purpose is to keep in.
We're all regulated by
62.
life are all going to be within a few dollars one way or the other. So you're not going to find a policy like ours that's $200 a month or whatever the $234 a month, and another company offering whole life for $50 a month. That'll never happen.
Oh no, for sure. No, I know that. But your policy that cover everything. But if you pick the cheap one, which is your company, maybe they don't have it, the cheap one, the 25,000. And you told me it's the same rate. If even you buy the 25,000 only for that, it's gonna stay 234, no?
The price never changes. The price will stay locked in at 234. Or
but there is companies who get lower than yours then. You said 234, so there is companies for $30, yes. For life insurance, 25,000 on death cases. There is. It's not just games. Yeah, there is. Like when my nephew say 400,000, he pays 62.
Okay. So this call doesn't last much more than about 30 seconds. So there is a huge disconnect here right? Where if you follow my 7-part sales series on selling final expense, part 2, I think it's part 2, is all about education. And it's possible that this agent did go through the education process, but it could have just gone through one ear and out the other. And one of the things that makes education so important in your presentation is it has to be relevant to your customer, which is why discovery is so important. So asking some questions that a lot of my agents actually skip. It would be interesting to go back to this call and hear if some of those discovery questions were skipped, which would have been to the effect of, so how long have you been looking? What have you found? What about that ad caused your, piqued your interest? And possibly we could have uncovered during the discovery process that his brother or his niece or nephew has a $400,000 policy for $62 a month. It would have been my number one goal to squash that idea for him in education. I would have had to really, really figure out, are you looking for that much coverage too? Or are you looking to just take care of these specific expenses? And I would have never left education if there was any sort of idea that he was holding on to the fact that he was looking for, possibly a term policy, because obviously that's something we can't provide. And the reason that he got that objection at the end is because it wasn't squashed, it wasn't covered completely enough to where it wouldn't come up again. Because if you and your customer are on the same page going into quotes, it's literally impossible for your customer to say, well, I saw this ad. Well, my cousin has this. Well, my brother-in-law has that. Why do I see these ads online? All of that should be completely covered and handled if you're doing a good enough job in discovery and education. It is so hard to come back from that after you've already given prices for whole life. So the reason this agent got this objection is because there were definitely some major holes missing in the first 2 parts of the sales process. I can't even teach you how to overcome that type of objection, because there are some objections that you create, they're almost impossible to overcome. And there are objections that are just a matter of helping a customer get out of their own way to make a decision because they really do see value in it. They just need help, right, to move forward. And this one, in my opinion, is one that would have been impossible to overcome because the work in the beginning it wasn't complete. And that's what happens.
For the monthly bank draft?
Yeah, I can understand that, with Wells Fargo, where the bank, is, I have, the checks, that gives you that. But I've never even really paid any attention to it with the account from the credit union. So I need to call Mario or Mark on Monday and get that information for you. Okay?
Sure, that's totally fine. What we do in this case, Betty, is we can put your debit card for now as a placeholder, just because we have to have it to complete the application,
okay,
so we can send it for approval.
Okay. Alicia has that. She keeps my little box with all my cards in it and my, my ID and all that stuff. Because if I had it, I couldn't give it to you because I can't see it.
Right. I see.
Okay.
Yeah. That's totally fine. So what we can do is just wait then until you have that information.
Well, let's do it on,
and that's totally fine.
On Monday, because as I said, I know the credit isn't open tomorrow. They're not open on Saturday. And I would have to talk to to them on Monday and get that for you. Okay?
Mm-hmm. That's no problem. What time would be the best time for me to give you a call back on Monday?
Please do. But yeah, let's do it around business people to take.
All right. So probably the number one most difficult part about selling insurance over the phone, especially final expense, is when our customers don't have their banking information. So this agent did a good job. Not a problem. What we do in this situation is we just use your debit card as a placeholder to move the application forward, and then we'll go ahead and switch it on Monday. Now, she didn't have her debit card info either, right? That was held by somebody else in this case. So the only other thing I would have done is offered to call the bank for her with me on the phone and try to see if we can get it from the credit union person over the phone. Now, not all banks will allow you to do that. I know Wells Fargo is actually one of them that won't give banking information over the phone. I'm not sure if credit unions would or not, but I'm always going to do whatever I can to try to, again, move that forward. So I would have said, could I offer maybe one last suggestion before we part ways, right? Always wanting to ask permission because that will lower people's guards. They're ready to accept what you're about to say. How about I go ahead and just conference in the credit union for you? I can mute out and you can just try and get that information right over the phone. And then we won't have to worry about getting it on Monday. How does that sound? And if they're really sold, right, here's the thing. I'm always testing the waters to find out if there's a different objection there or if it truly is just the banking info. Now, if the person's really sold and it really is just about not having the banking info, a lot of times they're okay. Sure, yeah, let's go ahead and get them on the phone and be done with it. Because to have to actually go into the bank and do it, another thing on their to-do list, I already know it's going to be like, oh, I didn't have time to do it puts I'll do it tomorrow. Then it puts on the back burner and we're living in the world of Chase again. So I would definitely offer to conference the bank on the line, but there are just some where you're going to have to let them go if you physically don't have a bank account number to be able to get that application pushed forward. But other than that, I'm at least glad the agent just was very confident in trying to get the debit card number to move the application to the next step.
I'm just putting it in the system here. Curious to see here. It should be more affordable than we think. It may be very similar to what you're paying for with Senior Life. So if you wanted a $5,000 policy, Ms. Deborah, it will be $42.55 per month. And that would cover your cremation as well as leave a little bit behind for your loved ones. And it is options to get lower coverage than that if that payment doesn't feel comfortable for you at $42, because I know you kind of on a fixed income and still paying your bills.
Should I go higher on that? What on that policy? Should I go more than 5,000?
Yeah, so anything extra you go more than, because like I say, your cremation through Lincoln Heritage, it's going to be around maybe $1,000 or $1,500. That's including a service if your kids want that. So anything extra will go towards your kids. That's why I recommended 5,000. But if you wanted to look into a higher option, we most definitely can. Because with your health, we can go up to 35,000. Of course, that's too much coverage. Talking 35,000, but. That's what were your thoughts on increasing that coverage?
I was thinking maybe 8, because what happens when the prices go up on cremation and all that? Or will I be set in stone with this amount?
That is a great question.
What I'm saying?
Absolutely. So I want you to think about, because the thing with inflation when it comes to burials or cremations or just anything in life is the price we pay as consumers, right? As far as food, clothing. But see, with the Garden Society, Miss Deborah, they get everything wholesale. So if you wanted like a funeral service, like flower arrangements, you're not paying. Your kids are not going to pay the funeral homes what they're charged. They're going to pay what the funeral home actually pays for those flower arrangements. You're getting everything at wholesale cost.
Right.
That's why it's such a huge cost savings. But since I've been in the industry, I haven't seen many cremation services get over $1,500, $2,000 for the. I want you to feel comfortable and confident, and you made the right decision.
I just want to be comfortable knowing that when it happens, everything's taken care of. I'm going to be
absolutely
dumped in that thing and it'll be jumped in a box. That's all.
Yes, that's it. And that's the God. They really works because it's what you're gonna get in the mail, Miss Deborah, is that final wishes guide that I mentioned.
That's what I want. But anyway, I'm going to think about this tonight and tomorrow, and I probably won't bother you the weekend. I'll probably wait till Monday to call you. So you need your time with your family too. But I really think I'm going to go with the 42 one, the 4255.
Okay.
And what
Okay.
I will be somewhere Monday that I'll have service, and I won't worry about losing you.
Okay, yeah, that'll be better.
Because you
Yes, ma'am.
keep going in and out on me, so I know I'm treading.
Yeah, it's close. So
yeah.
So if you do check your phone, Miss Deborah, you should have my business card there, and it should come
Yeah,
from
I've seen it
678
come
number. Okay.
Yes, I've seen it come through.
Yeah, whenever you think about things, the application takes about 10 or 15 minutes over the phone, so it won't take much time once you make a decision. But just text me before you kind of have some time, and that way I kind of move some things around to be available for you.
Okay, that'll be great. Thank you.
All right. Hope you guys are learning a lot just from listening to how these calls are being handled. It's much easier, right? Here's a full disclaimer. It's so much easier to judge other people's calls when you listen to it and think about in this context what you would have done or what you would have said in this scenario. It's a lot harder, especially for newer agents, to put it into practice when you're in the moment and you have the anxiety and you're like, oh, I want to get the sale, but I want to help the customer. And so I want to caution you, if you're going to post a comment on here about any of these calls you're hearing, just please be respectful to the agents that you're listening to, because I'm sure they're going to be reading the comments, and we're all here to learn and we're all here to grow. We're not here to judge. And so I just want to caution our audience here to post positive things or something that you may have learned. Just please don't post anything negative about, what the agent should have done or, did do. That's the last thing that I want to create is a comment section full of people poking at the agents. So with that said, the price came out of the agent's mouth at minute 24, and they said goodbye at minute 39. You literally could feel her wanting to move forward with the 5, but then saying, well, shouldn't I do the 8? She said multiple times over the last 12, 13 minutes, I just want to make sure everything's taken care of. I just want to make sure my family's taken care of. And the mistake that the agent made here was just continuing to overtalk and go on and on and on about how great our product and service is and how it will provide that comfort that she's looking for. And why is that a mistake? It's a mistake because it's the agent saying it, right? In order to get really, really good at the sales process, you have to explain things in the form of questions so that the customer can be the one that comes up with their own conclusion, not the salesperson talking them into doing it, which is why at the end of the 15-minute conversation after price came out of his mouth, why she felt like she had to think about it, because she kind of went like this in her emotional pendulum and wasn't really convinced enough at the end that this was the answer for her, because it was the agent trying to do all of the convincing instead of asking the customer the questions that needed to be asked so the customer could come to her own conclusion. So for example, well, you could go up to the 8,000. But can I ask, with this other policy you have in place right now, and if you were to add the 10,000, what would you be, the most concerned about? Okay, here are kind of the answers. Now, if you were to get this 5,000 in addition to this other policy you have, do you feel that's affordable for you? Or do you feel we could stretch up to the 8,000, right, and give the pricing? Now that we've kind of figured out the affordability aspect of it, and I'm really trying to understand why she feels the additional 5,000 may still not be enough, Then I'm going to go back and ask her those same questions that I went over with you guys in one of the earlier calls. Okay, so I hear that there's maybe some fear, some hesitation, that maybe there might not be enough to take care of these final expenses. And I hear you. Can I just maybe ask you, do you like the idea of this program? Yes. Tell me why you like it. Tell me why you think it would benefit your family. The whole point of this part of the process, including what we're doing through the presentation portion, is I need the customers to convince me that this is the answer for them, not the other way around. What was happening here in the last 15 minutes of the call was the agent trying to convince the customer that this is the answer for her. I didn't really hear the customer say anything other than she was concerned that the 5,000 was not going to be enough coverage, instead of the customer talking about why this program and the policy was the answer for her, because there weren't any questions that were being asked. It was just statements, right? Telling is not selling. We need to engage the customer in a way that gets them to be back up on that emotional high, so we can come to the conclusion together and move forward with the application. It was literally at the cusp of moving forward with the decision. It could have been done in just a couple of minutes and move forward. All these people need is to feel confident that the decision they're making is the right one. And I think we just went too roundabout and over talking for 15 minutes about all the things that we may or may not be able to do to help and assist, but it wasn't working, right? It didn't give her the confidence that she needed to move forward. And so that is definitely a good lesson that we need to zip it, just ask questions, help customers come to the conclusion that it is the right answer. And we could always make changes later, right? If she decided she wanted more. But I think that was definitely a missed opportunity.
Okay, because you're in good health, if we were able to get approved for this policy, and let's say, God forbid, you got into a car accident tomorrow, your family would receive the insurance coverage now. So there's no 2-year waiting period.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put that information, you know, because I have to speak about that with my kids, you know, with my wife, and you know.
Right.
Yes.
So let's see here. I have a $10,000, $15,000, and $20,000 policy. Hold on. Okay. So the $20,000 in coverage would come out to a monthly payment of $240 a month. The $15,000 would come out to a monthly payment of $183 per month, and then the $10,000 come out. Did you hear the $20,000?
Yes. Put on the paper and send to put on the paper and send to me the information, and I will decide.
Yeah.
Put all the information. Yes.
Okay.
And only 15 and 10. Yes.
Yeah. 20,000 was $240 a month. 15,000.
Is that a final decision of Heritage?
Pardon?
Is that final decision of Heritage? Final decision? They cannot you know, discuss about that.
Yeah, so because we're all regulated by the Department of Insurance, the premiums
I know.
based on your health and age.
No. 65.
65. Right. So if she put the policy in
Insurance company, you know, and I will decide. Yes.
Okay. Was there any other questions?
Okay, send it. Please?
Was there any other questions for me?
No.
Okay. So here's what I heard here. This agent actually got the objection before even giving the price. I don't know if you heard, but rewind and hear it again. And he didn't even address it. He just ignored it and went right into the pricing information. And you can definitely tell that there is a language barrier between these two people. And so it's possible that he was just uncomfortable and did not have control over the conversation. But that's a really big red flag that you need work in managing how to control different people, different situations, so that you can make sure that you're still being strategic in your conversations. So the objection he got was, I need to talk to my kids and my wife about it. And then he just ignores it and says, okay, well, here's the price, right? For 10, 15, and 20. So then what happens again? He gets the, well, is this the final choice? Is this how much it's really going to cost? We got a price objection. Did not address the price objection as far as what has him feeling concerned about that. It just went right into, well, yeah, we're all regulated and that's the price based on your age and health. So there were definitely a few things that were wrong here. As soon as I heard I need to talk to my wife and kids about it before price comes out of my mouth, I already know he's not sold, right? So I would stop right there. Well, of course you want to talk to your wife and kids about it. This is a big decision. I guess, can I just ask you, based on some of the things that we've spoken about today, do you feel like this program and everything that comes with it is something that you feel would protect your wife and kids if something were to happen to you? Now we got to go back. We got to go back and we got to talk about why he likes it, why he thinks it'd be a benefit to him. Before I give him the price. Remember, you have to picture this as like your pendulum. And in order for you to give price, people have to be on an emotional high. People aren't going to buy when they're in a bad mood, even if they really like it. So you have to get people emotionally engaged. Not everybody is able to do that. Or willing to do that, but you have to at least try, is the point. Then when he got the objection of, is that, the final decision? You have to get uncomfortable, right? You got to get uncomfortable and say, it kind of sounds like you're thinking that, are you saying that you feel like the price is a little high based on the amount of coverage? Well, then let's talk about that, right? That's kind of a red flag that tells me that maybe he didn't really get educated well in the education section, because you got to make sure that you're on the same page with your customers so there's no surprises. It's also really important to give strong recommendations. So when you give quotes at the end, you really want to try to get away from the here's the 10, 15, and 20 and more go towards, here's my recommendation for you based on your situation, and here's why, because it'll take care of this, it'll do this. And you told me earlier that that was important to you. And so that would be enough money to take care of A, B, C, and X, Y, and Z. So that way you are transforming yourself into the expert that our customers expect. If you just give 10, 15, 20, and they're not justified or backed up by logic or reason, you're just someone giving them quotes for life insurance that they're just going to keep shopping around because they don't understand it. And you're not the one that they want to buy from. So simple as that. Our calls, we've only heard 6. And after editing the first part of this video, we are already at about 47 minutes and 50 seconds. So I'm pretty confident that this will be a part 2.5. And I'm really liking it so far. I hope you're really liking it so far. And let's just continue on the path. Here we go.
Just before I give you some quotes here, Mr. Jones, I want to talk to you about something first. So we know that age and gender, they play a huge factor in the price, but what plays an even bigger factor is somebody's health. And this particular condition, it spooks every insurance company. It kind of spooks them, kind of like how a blood thinner would spook them. Makes them think that this person could be at risk of heart complications in the future. It's the same thing with COPD. They think, okay, what is he inhaling? Could it lead to long-term debilitating concerns? And it as a result, it's going to be a little bit pricier than you thought it might be. And unfortunately, this will be the reality anywhere you go, Mr. Jones. So what I want to know is, are you open to looking at options that may not necessarily hit $35,000 or $25,000 like, we were talking about before, as long as they are, comfortable and affordable to still accomplish your goals.
Uh-huh.
Are you still open to exploring some
Oh,
options
yeah,
there?
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I don't want
perfect.
to go belly up trying to pay for insurance.
I hear
you
you.
know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Die because
Okay.
you got to pay all the money in insurance and they have to afford to eat.
Absolutely. Just loading, but I'm happy to hear you say that, sir, because when I do recommend some coverage amounts here for Unisec, it's because I want to make sure you can put something in place for your family that you can afford. I always say the best policy is, the one I can afford to have. That's what matters. I'm not going to think about it twice, even if things become a little tougher. And what I would suggest is think about it in terms of when and if anything should ever become a little bit more tight budget wise. This should be something that you wouldn't even consider touching because it's just not breaking the bank like maybe some other bills would be. So let's focus on making sure the number is low enough that you kind of have this approach going into your policy in the years to come. And remember, you don't need as big a policy with us as you would with someone else because the organization we work with is going to be there to advocate for your family and make sure they're not overcharged. So the number I'm looking at here first is 5,000. I'm also looking at 10,000 and 15,000. So right now, with $5,000, this will take care of all of your cremation costs. You'll be able to have an additional, it looks like about $4,500 approximately for your wife. And given this is, you're currently paying $600 a month, this should afford something along the lines of about $800. I'm sorry, 8 months, $800, 8 months of time for your wife to stay in the house and to make a decision. That's the most important thing here. If something were to happen to you, sir, before the mortgage is paid off, this would give your wife 8 months of time to, it takes time to grieve.
Well,
now, I'm sure you guys were also.
That other policy, she would get 30,000 there. She should be able to pay the house off. We only owe 25,000.
Yes. Right.
They should have like 8,000 to spare or 7.
Okay. Good. Then at this point, it's just a matter of seeing how much additional coverage you'd want for your wife immediately. And the only thing I can think of, Mr. Jones, that your wife would need that money immediately for is to take care of the final expenses, to take care of those cremation costs. And I don't think you'd need any more than 5,000. I think you would need any more than that, sir. Gotcha. So we'll look at 5 and 10,000 for now.
Around that. Yeah.
Now it's 129.40. How does that number feel for you, Mr. Jones?
No, what number? And that I would have somebody in my ear having.
Oh, I'm sorry. The 129. How does that number feel for you for the 10,000 of coverage?
A lot.
It's a lot. Okay. Let's lower it a little bit and see what would be comfortable for you, sir. So let's go to about 8,000. Let's look at that and see how it will look like. And again, it comes with the accidental as well. So there's a lot of upside here as well for your son because you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're still active, you're still out and about. So the accidental could be really, really beneficial here as well. Now the 8,000 goes for 105 and 12 cents. And if we were to look at 6,500, would be 86 and 91 cents. And the 5,000 would be $68 and 70 cents. Now,
Talk it over with the wife.
okay, yeah, I totally respect that. I guess my first question is, does this all sound like something that you would want to have?
Yeah, that 5,000, it gives them a little bit to pay for my final stuff, and so we'll have some left over, and the house gets paid.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's see here. Let me grab this document. I apologize. One moment. Okay. Okay, so it sounds to me like you do like the benefits and what the company will offer to your family. And the only thing kind of keeping you from moving forward is you want to have that conversation with your wife. And it sounds like you guys make decisions together on financial matters. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, totally get it. Now, Tom, I was curious if you were to speak to your wife today, what do you think she would say about this particular policy? Think she would like it?
Well, gee, probably, I don't know for sure. No, I want to talk to her about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to kind of figure out, like, where would she lean in terms of, like, the benefits, and if this was, like, something that she herself would be interested in for the family, for herself.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, when I'll talk to her, we both can, if she wants to get something too, we both talk to you then. And you can figure out something for her.
Sure. Does she have any complications due to
No.
her diabetes? She doesn't?
No.
Okay, gotcha.
No.
Yeah, okay.
That's
great to hear.
Having to take the shots or nothing. Yeah, chance you could say.
I move out.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah,
And
no sense.
Yeah,
Sounds like you're for the better. 5, 6, but
Yeah.
I'll let you settle in a little bit. Give you a call around 6:30. Would that?
Okay. That's going to require some editing. So, here's what I heard. It sounds like this customer possibly already had a $20,000 policy in place. Without hearing the beginning of the call, some of the things I would have wanted to uncover would be, why do you feel like that may not be enough? Have you thought about what would happen if you weren't able to get some additional coverage and you only had the $20,000 for your wife to fall back on? Kind of how long have you been looking for additional coverage? What have you found? So some of these things I definitely would have brought up again in my objection handling phase. I didn't hear any of that, so I can only assume that maybe the agent did not get the answers to those questions. There was definitely a moment there where he was trying to put the objection handling responses in place, but then had to verbally say, I need to pull up a sheet. And I believe he was pulling up the objections so he could read them, which you definitely want to be more prepared, because you don't want to spend 38 minutes on the phone with someone and not really know or feel comfortable on how to navigate through the moment where it's your time to shine, right? Because the first time someone says, no, I want to talk about it, I want to think about it, that's when the true selling actually begins. So you don't want to be fumbling around pulling up your objection sheet. You want to have practiced it so many times that it just comes just as natural to you as the rest of the presentation does. So I want to talk to my wife. The one that we typically use is, that's not a problem. And, you know, this is a big decision. I guess, if your wife was here, what do you think she would say? It took him a while to get there. So, but his response was, I don't know. That's what I want to talk to her. Of course you do. And I get that. I guess, which one do you think she would pick? Because you already have the 20. So how much more do you think would make her feel comfortable? Now, what are you going to do if you go to your wife and she says she doesn't want you to get additional coverage? That you're just going to stick to the 20,000 you have now. What do you think you would do then? And then you're going to get all those answers and then go back to the husband and say, so putting your wife aside for a moment, thank you for answering those questions. Do you feel like this is something you even want to have for her? He said, oh yeah, I like it. The thing that we missed here is, so what about it did you like the most? How do you feel it's going to provide that extra protection to your wife? So we tried, which is good. But when you don't do it fully and completely, you're picking pieces of the objections, and you're missing the full process. So good job to the agent for giving it a shot and at least not just saying, okay, we'll schedule the callback. But you can clearly see when you're not prepared to get the objections, how it starts to slowly avalanche downhill. Good job. Let's go to the next one.
Without me knowing what your funds look like on a month-to-month basis, you have to help me out a little bit, okay? Because I do have the authority to customize the plans by adjusting the amount so that will make you feel more comfortable. Fair enough?
Yes.
All right. So there we go. Now, the first plan I have in mind is for $3,000 worth of coverage, and everything is included with each of these plans that I review with you. All right. And that monthly enrollment would be, get my calculator out, okay, because it's like thinking. Okay. Well, and now my system wants to act up all of a sudden at the last minute. Hold on. Let me refresh. Okay, here we go. All right. This is the most inopportune time, 28 cents. Here we go. Whew, finally. All right. All right. So if we did $3,000 worth of coverage, and thank you so much for your patience, sir. I appreciate it. The monthly enrollment would be $65.28. All right. Now, the second plan I have in mind is for $3,500 in coverage, and that monthly enrollment would be $74.41. Okay. Got it. All right. All right. And then the third plan I have is for $4,000, and that monthly enrollment would be $83.54. Okay. All right. Now, do any of these three plans make the most sense for you?
I don't know, sir. I can't give you a definite answer on that because I haven't prepared a whole lot of other stuff other than what the VA is offering. So, and that's coverage is a lot less than what the VA offers. So, to do a fair analysis, right. I would have to do take in consideration the information you gave me today. So I can't give you an honest answer.
Right. Well, how can I communicate this to you, Sarge, without without you getting upset with me? Okay, because I understand that cost has an importance to you, right? But can I ask you, how would that compare with you actually getting the results and being able to solve this problem, though, right? You know, because considering that everything that we do, right, in regards to protecting your cremation costs and everything else like that, and what you've actually told me that you want your wife to get out of your policy, I guess it all depends if you want the Cadillac or the Hyundai, right? Because true, the VA could
obviously provide more coverage, right? But it still will boil down to when they actually pay for everything, right? Whereas with this program, this will pay out immediately and have the benefit of former funeral directors negotiating the cost of your cremation as well. So that way you're not paying more money than necessary to ensure that your needs are met, you know, for your services and everything else like that. So I guess all I want to do is to put you in a better position than what we got on the phone today, right? So what it all boils down to is price is the most important thing to you, or actually having a policy that will solve the problems that we discussed today about time frames and everything else like that.
Well, okay, that's a double part question, and it's not totally, price is not totally the thing, and having it taken care of is the motivation of why I reached out to you guys to begin with. I am in a box that I am being forced to only take what compensation that I receive. I can't work, so I have to make the decision on all of that. So I look at everything, and I search price, then I search services, and then I make a decision on what to do. So so your combined question has combined answers, if that makes sense to you.
It does, and it does make sense, right? So with that understanding, Stars, let's pretend you did get 3 or 4 different quotes, right? And you found out that we're all about, say, a few dollars off from each other, anywhere from like $5 to $10 a month from each other, right? What do you think would be the deciding factor on which one that you would choose, right?
The best bang for the buck. I mean, it's like
Exactly.
everybody's going to tell you that. I mean,
Right, exactly.
That's what everybody wants. Go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
So that's okay. So if the deciding factor isn't just about the price, but also about the value, right? I can assure you that it will be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to find another company who would not just pay your wife when she needs it most, but also go to bat for her and make sure that she's not being taken advantage of one of the more difficult moments of her life, right? And so none of that matters, though, if you don't see the value. I mean, price aside, is this something you would even want to have for her?
Well, I know what you're trying to do. I understand you have a job, and you're not going to pin me down to continue to keep replying positive to your questions. So I'm telling you that I'm just getting started on this. I'm going to compare whatever you offer me to what the VA I can get through the VA. I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. You've given me information that I've never heard before, so I'm going to investigate that information you gave me. I took notes. So that's my plan. And if you want to continue on, that's fine. If you don't, I understand that too. I'm not trying to I'm just being straight with you, man.
Oh, as I am with you, definitely.
Right.
Right. No. All right. You know, so I guess, so what do you suggest that I do moving forward?
Give me your name and number.
All right, we'll stop here. So that was a lot to listen to. He tried a couple of different objection handling techniques. When he first started the objections, I think he got more comfortable in it as the conversation went on, but it was a little bit tense. And I think it was a little bit of the wrong approach in the beginning of the objection handling. He had asked a couple of questions and then didn't really give any space for the customer to answer. He was doing a lot of telling at the beginning instead of asking. And one of the things that really kind of caught my attention with the recommendations was there was no comparison to the quotes or what this customer was looking at from the VA, because that was one of the objections. It's less than what the VA has. And so I would have definitely wanted to uncover what that was in discovery. How long have you been looking? What have you found? Right? Those questions, those are typically questions that agents miss. So once I have that information, I'm looking at this size policy with the VA. I don't even need to know how much it costs. It's just important that I do a compare and contrast throughout the conversation and say, you know, this is what the VA may offer compared to what we can offer here. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it would be beneficial to have a policy that's not attached to the VA that can be used, you know, really at any funeral home? And then when you go into the recommendations, to still keep whatever he's looking at with the VA on the forefront. So you're the one bringing it up, not the customer. Now, I'm making some assumptions just based on the little bit that we heard that he already got a quote from the VA, and because that's what I think he said. So I think if he would have said, now I know you have a quote from the VA for this amount of coverage. Here's what we can offer for the same amount of coverage. It's X amount of dollars more for these additional benefits. Do you think that having this, and this is worth the extra $10 or $15 per month? You know, and kind of doing that compare and contrast for the customer in real time without having the customer feeling like he still needs to do that. Now, this may still not have ended in a sale. And part of the downfall of just listening to the objections at the end is we can't hear anything that led up to it, because a lot of what leads up to this will get you the objections at the end. But what I really liked about it, is once he got comfortable in the objection process, he did a couple of really good ones, which was like, let's pretend you shopped around and got a couple of quotes and they were all $10 or $15 a month from each other. What do you think would be the deciding factor? But at that point, and then he finally got to, is this even something you want to have? I think that he should have started with that, because he kind of lost some of the momentum and the emotional urgency by saying things like, can I be direct with you too soon? Or saying, comparing it from a Cadillac to a Hyundai. I think that probably insulted him a little bit. So I think in absence of that, the objection handling may have gone a little bit smoother, but still think that he did a really good job to the best that he could in the moment.
$8,000 of coverage with 8 units of accidental, $64.12. Okay, so we went from 80 to 65, and now let's look at 6,000. $6,000 of coverage with 8 units of accidental. Now we're looking at a monthly premium of $50.84. We can go all the way down to $15. So you tell me, what did you like? One of those better than?
Well, I don't think I could do the. I don't think I could do the 10,000 because that's $77 a month.
Right.
And you said, and how much the 8,000?
64. 8,000 was 64. 6,000 is 84.
Okay, if I get the $6,000 and something happened to me, would that be enough to cover for a funeral?
Yes, it would. I put plans in place for 3,000, 5,000 that still cover the funeral, because we're going to negotiate pricing with the funeral home. So even if we were to put $100 policy in place, we're still going to negotiate pricing with the funeral home to make sure that your family gets the best pricing so that we can carry out your final wishes. And that's why I stopped at 6,000, because I think anything lower than that, there might be some out-of-pocket expenses. Because you want a traditional burial, 6,000 is a good number to start.
Okay, you said that would run me how much a month?
$50.84.
Okay.
But I want you to be really comfortable with that number. So, you know, if we got to, let's see, if you got 8 units of accidental, right? Well, if I only give you 4, now that brings the price on 6,000 to $46.84.
For 4,000?
See what I mean? Yeah. No. So this is $6,000 of coverage, and instead of 8 units, I gave you 4 units of accidental. So I cut it in half, which dropped the price down from 50 to 46.84. Each unit is about $1.
Okay, yeah, I can handle that.
Okay, so let's shoot for the 46.84, and then if you go through your finances later and you feel like, hey, maybe I can afford a little bit more, then you just give me a call.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Uh-huh.
All right, I'm going to add Antoinette as the beneficiary.
All right. For those of you who are thinking, there's no way we can get a funeral for less than $6,000. Ironically enough, we just got some information last night from the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society on a real life client. He, including the cost for a casket, which we are buying ourselves, meaning the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society is buying the casket themselves instead of getting it directly from the funeral home. So including the cost of a $2,000 casket, they were able to get the cost of a full service funeral for $5,995, including the cost of the casket. The original quote that this beneficiary originally received was $10,500. So what is that? That's almost $11,000. That's a $4,000 savings. So yes, and this was in California. So yes, it is absolutely possible to get a full service burial for $6,000 in coverage. And looks like we got no objections. We were just trying to figure out what price was going to work best, justifying it with logic and value, helping our customer feel good about their decision and immediately moving that application process forward. So great job.
Again, we both know that affordability is definitely going to be important, as well as being able to take that burden off of your family, your brother, sister, and your daughter, and then just being able, for them to have access to that money so quickly and possibly having some funds to tide them over, when you've passed away, and having that extra help with the price shopping and the contract review service. Those are your top priorities. Do I have that right? Yep. Well, just keep in mind, without me knowing, what your bank account looks like, Richard, you're going to have to help me out a little bit, okay? Because I do have the authority to be able to customize the plan, and I can increase it or decrease it to something that's going to make you feel more comfortable. You just gotta, tell me, okay?
Okay.
All right. And it's not going, you're probably thinking it's going to be terrible. It really isn't. You're probably like, is this woman getting ready to give me some crazy price, aren't you? That's probably what you're thinking. I can just hear the wheels ticking in your head. So it's not even like that. So bear with me here. I'm just getting my computer to get it together. It's doing a lot of spinning over here. Come on. It's going to include the free membership for a simple $5,000, which would definitely take care of your cremation, because remember, we can get a cremation down to less than $1,000. You would, and then of course, to include your extra accidental coverage, that would leave your brother and sister with probably about $4,000 that they could pass to your daughter and maybe take care of some of your final bills that may be outstanding. And just to take advantage of that, you would be looking at about $52 a month. Now, no, it's not. Now, if you wanted to think about maybe somewhere around, $7,000, maybe so that, you have $6,000 that can take care of your immediate bills and then leave your daughter with extra money. Because I know that, you really were thinking about her, and probably by the time that this happens, there's probably going to be some grandbabies in there. So, might be a little bit of a way for you to think. So with the $7,000, you're only looking at $669 a month. And then if you wanted to bump it up to about $10,000, which of course would leave about $9,000 to cover the immediate bills, and then the rest would go to your daughter and the grandbabies, then you would be looking at about $96 a month. Now, out of those three, do you feel that one of those plans makes sense for you?
Yeah, I'll do the first one. That'll be good for me. I'll be able to afford that every month.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm going to be honest with you, Richard, you're young. So, you know, if you decide, you come back to me and you say, Betty, you know, I think that I want to add on, and I'm just throwing out a number here. You come back to me and you say, I think I want to add on $2,000 more. I want to get $7,000 worth of coverage. Long as you tell me within a year, then I can actually, you know, get that to the same price as the $7,000, so the $69 a month, without you having to pay any type of extra fees and stuff. You know, so you have options. That's my whole point to you. Nothing is written in stone, but I know that you said that it was important to, have it. So I totally get it. I think the 5,000 is perfect as well. So Richard, now what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that we have all this kind of set up for you.
Well, 2 no objections in a row. That's good news. We can still learn a lot from the calls that we don't get objections with. What I really liked about what this agent did is justified her recommendations with logic and made sure that even at the $5,000 policy, it was still going to take care of the expenses and leave a little bit extra to the family, even cracked some jokes before the pricing to lower the tension. All right, good stuff. Let's find an objection. I am determined to find one.
No, I wouldn't do that. I would probably just want to be covered as soon as I started, or I wouldn't even do it.
Exactly. However, with your mom, if your mom has existing health conditions, there will probably be a 2-year waiting period. And that's not just my company, that's going to be every company out there. It's sort of like it's protection for the insurance company, because people that know that they have a terminal illness or are very sick and are about to pass would make 1 or 2 payments and then try and collect the full benefit. So that's why that's in there. But for somebody that's healthy like you, we just waive that.
Yeah, because I called on a dental plan for my mom as well, because she needs dentures. They told me at a different place that I had to pay a whole year before she could even get it done. I thought, she don't have a year. I mean, I don't know that she might have a year, but you know what I'm saying? To get dentures, or her teeth bother her now. You know, I'm thinking, why? So yeah, I didn't do it. There's other people that will pick her up that she didn't have to wait a year. So no, I'm not interested in any insurance that makes you wait so long and you pay.
Exactly. I mean, so with this policy, if you were to pass away tomorrow or next week, as long as you didn't take your own life, the payout would be the full benefit. Along with this policy comes some accidental death and additional $50,000 on top of the policy. A couple of recommendations on coverage. And the first one is the face value of the policy is $7,500, which is with the Guardian Society involved to make sure that, prices are kept down and nobody's taken advantage of, as well as to be there for the family. $7,500 should be more than sufficient to handle a traditional burial. And the price for that with the accidental death and dismemberment coverage in there all in is $37.33.
Oh my. Are you serious?
I'm perfectly serious. What were you thinking? How does that fit with what you were thinking?
Wow, I mean, some I've checked on. Whole life is expensive. And it's just, wow. But that's $7,500, right?
That's $7,500. which is basically the equivalent of between $10,000 and $12,000 with any other company, because the Guardian Society is going to be there to keep costs down, like save $3,000 or $4,000 on the casket alone before we even get into headstone and all those other things.
Yeah.
So this is less expensive than you thought it was going to be.
Way for everything you're offering.
Okay. I'm glad you think so.
Because I think if I was going to review you or, have to score you guys, it's just awesome. I'm saying.
Well, I appreciate that. There's a lot of insurance companies that I could work for out there. I have worked for some of them. I really love working for Lincoln Heritage because it's not just about trying to sell a policy. It's more about how do we help the family when the time comes. And that's a big difference. The other companies are just going to write a check, and we're going to be there to make sure that.
I'm going to pause here for a second. I know I don't typically give commentary till the end, but I think that you have a little bit of a clue here. The customer is really liking everything, is happy with the price, is rating the company high. I think I would take advantage of that. And instead of me, the agent, continuing to reinforce it, I would want to hear from the customer. That's really, I'm really happy you say that. Can you tell me why you would rate us so high, right? What about the program did you like the most? And sometimes we can fall into a trap of hearing buying signs, and then we want to be the ones to reinforce the sale when we should be really challenging our customers to reinforce the sale themselves. Because the more we can get them to talk specifically about why they like it, when we go to ask for the money, including, your banking information and moving forward with the application, they already talked themselves into it. But the moment that switches and it's you talking them into why you like it so much, it becomes more of you trying to sell them something rather than you just wanting to hear their thoughts. So let's continue and see what happens.
Money is not a source of stress, and that the family's got somebody there to help figure things out for them, to remove the stress as much as possible, make the money go as far as possible. That's a big deal.
Awesome.
Like I said before, we don't need to start a policy today. I'm not looking to take a payment from you today or anything like that, but it might make sense for us to go through underwriting and make sure that you're approved for it so that I could send everything out to you. You'd have it, and I'd be your agent. If there's anything that you wanted to, ask me or address or anything like that, you'd have my cell phone. It's the same number my wife calls me on. You'd be able to get me on, answer any questions that you have.
Well, I definitely like you, and I go through you. What's your name?
Okay. My name's Terry Ladd, Ladd.
Okay. And what's the other policy amount?
I'm sorry, the other policy amount?
Yeah, because you said there was two, and you would.
Yeah. Okay. So I ran numbers for $10,000 as well of coverage, so an additional $2,500. So and the price on that is $47.10.
Okay. Do you have any bigger policy coverages?
How high would you like me to go? I can go as high as $35,000.
Let me see what your 35,000 is.
This refreshes. 144.85. Okay, and here's one other option that I want to.
I would have paused there, by the way. Just wait for the customer to speak before I jump in and try to give more options.
Let's throw in there. Before I do, out of the three numbers that we discussed, what seems comfortable for you. I mean, what I normally tell my clients at this
And if you're going to ask a question, let your customer answer it.
point is they may have heard somewhere else, buy as much life insurance as you can afford. I don't believe that. I believe that you should buy as much as your budget comfortably allows, because you don't want to get into a policy that is a little bit of a stretch now, and then 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, maybe money gets a little tight for a little while and you let the policy go. And then everything that you've paid into it is gone. It's lapsed. So I always say err on the side of being a little conservative here. Out of those three numbers, did any of those sort of feel like an amount that's comfortable for you to set aside each month?
Well, let's try, what is your 15? I'm going to write all the amounts down and then go from there. Because I know it costs about $10,000 to bury you. You know, do it comfortably the way you want. You think, you know what I mean?
Just a point of reference. $15,000 is 66 and 65 cents.
And let's give me the price on 20, 25, and 30.
One sec.
The rates, this way, look at my budget and tell her the rates. This way, I mean, I go, everything I do with Mom, I do it with her. You know, I don't make no decisions without her. And then myself, I got to look at my budget because I help my mom as well with, since she's on a budgeted income, what isn't covered at where she lives, I pay for. And if any medication isn't paid for, I pay for that and her little hair to get done. So I've got a little budget on the side that I take out of mine as well. So, you know, I've got to see everything I've got to work with besides my own bills and then go from there. With school, I can't work as full time as I was, you know, but with clinical starting, I may have to start picking up after the 10 weeks, but I'm hoping to do it before. So I just want to look at my budget and crunch some numbers, see what I can do. Because once I get through clinicals, I'll be working as an MA, making better money than I do now, and going to school as well.
Right. Okay.
I'm pushing myself forward because I need to help my mother, you know, too. And I want us both to be covered. I don't want my children to go through what I'm going through. You know, I don't want them to worry. And
absolutely.
It's less stress.
So I'll plan to circle back with you Monday, 2 or 3 weeks from now. How does that sound?
That sounds excellent.
All right. So this call only lasts 30 more seconds. I have a lot to say about this call. I really think that she was sold, and we kind of fell into the trap of give me a price for this, give me a price for that, give me a price for this. And we just complied, right? Here's the price for this. Now she has 10 different prices that she's looking at. The more options we provide and the more options we give, it's actually harder to make a decision because you want to make sure that you're making the right one. And now you have way too many choices to pick from. And then we kind of got in a tangent. It looks like about the mom. It looks like she wants to buy insurance for her mom and herself. And so it really requires you as the agent to take control at this point and say, okay, so it sounds like you're really just wanting to get prices of all of them. But I think what we really need to do is make a good decision based on what's going to take care of the funeral and what you can afford today, knowing that at some point you're going to want to get a policy for your mom, right? Okay, so with that in mind, it doesn't matter what the 20 or the 25 or the 30 or the 35 is, because you could always add additional coverage at a later date. So does the $10,000 policy feel comfortable for you today? And then what I would have done is as soon as she gave him a buying sign a little bit early on, like that's a great price. And instead of continuing to go into the rabbit hole of giving all these additional prices, I would have just started writing the application. You heard on a couple of calls previous to this one, where as soon as you hear that buying sign, perfect. Who do you want to list as your primary beneficiary, right? And you just keep moving forward. And this call, it got to that peak, the pinnacle. She was really excited about it. It looks like she wanted to move forward. And then we kind of lost that momentum by going too much into all the different options. And then also talking about the mom, we almost gave her permission to sort of think about it, because now she's told you she's liked it. She likes you. You know, she definitely wants to work with you. So now you're in this mindset of, I believe this will be a future opportunity, instead of realizing you really need to get everything you possibly can now and today. So this agent definitely let this applicant completely slip away from his fingertips. Instead of really taking control and saying, this is what we need to do now. Let's get yours done and out of the way. Let's keep a little bit extra room in your budget so that when your mom is ready to do hers, we already know we can afford it. And then if you want to make changes later to yours, we know we can. And then you just start asking the questions on the application. You cross the line between being a sales professional and a customer service representative, you're going to lose a lot of deals. So that was definitely a mistake that hopefully this agent doesn't repeat again. Another day, another few sets of calls. We are almost at the 2-hour mark on this part 2.5. So we're going to try to squeeze in a few more. I'll edit this and finally get it published. This video is taking me forever, but hopefully you enjoy it. Now would be a really good time to give this video a like if you've made it this far. Post a comment. Have you learned anything? Any takeaways? What can you share with the rest of the community? As far as what maybe you haven't been doing before that you're going to implement now. Any feedback you can provide, let's talk about it. As always, I love to hear from you, and I always engage with every single person. Let's go ahead and listen to some more.
Because you never know when we can go down. If you want to go somewhere in the middle, we can do the word better, 10,000, and under the word best is 15. 15, okay. Okay. So I want you to know, okay, if none of these prices fit you or this coverage fits you, you want to go up in coverage, we can go up. If you want to go down, we can go down. If you want to go somewhere in the middle, we can do somewhere in the middle. This is just a starting point, okay? Yep. Okay, so here we go. So for $7,000, it's a good policy. Now remember, this is going to have the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society. They're going to pay your sons out within 24 to 48 hours, probably even quicker than that. We've been known to pay it in an hour, okay? Also, we're going to be there too, so you can plan your funeral and your kids don't have to step foot in the hospital, in the funeral home until you're...
There's something about the need to resell the features and benefits before you give price that bothers me a little bit. I kind of feel like if you've done a good enough job and your customer has told you all the reasons why they like it and why it would benefit them, that you don't need to do this, right? We're at the point where we're talking dollars and cents. Here's the coverage. Here's the price. What are your thoughts? I would encourage you to not do this. Do not oversell. It sounds salesy. Just give them the price.
Your services, okay? And don't forget about the accidental death and dismemberment and the terminal illness riders. We're looking at a monthly premium, which is your payment. We're looking at it $80.57 a month. A month for which one? 7,000 a month. For it's for 7,000. Let me go back for 80. Let me hold on a second. I switched screens. $80.57. Now for the second one, it's a little bit better. It's for 10,000. Remember, we're just talking. We can go up or down and all and around. This is just a start. This is just talking. So for 10,000, we're looking at a monthly payment of $110.60 And lastly, for 15,000, we're looking at a monthly payment of 160.65.
No, it's kinda high, girl.
I know. I kind of figured.
Just a note to self, for your final expense market, really anything over $100 a month is significantly higher risk of canceling in the first year. And just knowing that and keeping that in mind, it's always better to quote what feels comfortable and reasonable for someone. I know there are other people out there that like to give the shock value, start high and go down lower, so the lower doesn't seem as high. But I also don't love how, the agent is saying, this is just a starting point. We can go higher, we can go lower, we can play around with the numbers. I think it would serve you much better if your quotes came with, once again, I'm going to be a broken record, backed up with why, right? Here's the reason why I recommend this for you, because you should know everything about them at this point.
Figured that was. So do you want to go lower than 7 and see what we can do for 5?
No, you know what? Because the last one that I took last week, like I said, I still waiting for the policy. I got it for $20,000.
How much?
And I'm gonna pay only $104.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we hear how the agent responds, once again, this is information we should have already uncovered in discovery and been able to do a compare and contrast. So if she just got a $20,000 policy recently, then typically, typically what we try to do here is either add a little bit of amount of coverage to go hand in hand with the policy they already got, especially if the pricing is significantly different, which it's usually not significant. It's usually maybe $10 or $15. But if it's around the same price, like we just came across a, what was it? American Amicable policy, I think, and ours was like $2 difference. So there are some cases where it isn't a significant difference. But you have to be able to bring that information into your quotes so that you do it before they do. It's really important.
And then how much is how much is your services going to cost? If you live, what you're paying for is, and then you got to see how much are they going to take care of your funeral expenses and help you plan it?
Yes. Yes.
Is that the, so listen,
almost everything.
Is that through Senior Life?
No, there's the one, they call American Pioneer. This agency or whatever this office, they're in Dallas more than 80 years or 60.
And what are they going to do?
Yeah, exactly. My kids don't have to put only two days. So, and then if you die, the next is double.
Okay.
Like that.
Double indemnity is what the customer just said.
Yeah. I'm looking at it now and it doesn't show anywhere where you're going to be able to plan your funeral. It doesn't.
From where?
From American Pioneer.
But when you say plan, what do you mean plan my funeral? What do you mean?
Like when you get your policy in the mail, like I was telling you, we send out your wish guide. You go through the wish guide and then you plan it all the way down to the sheet music. You're going to plan it for your son. That way they don't have to go into the funeral home. And we're going to be the ones who are going to negotiate with the funeral home to get the cost of your funeral home down. Because, when your son's walking to the funeral home, that funeral director, they see them coming a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to want to get paid in full before they start. And if that doesn't end, Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know in myself, then gonna go ahead and that nobody take care of the mama policy, only them. They're gonna be in the funeral home in person, believe me.
Do you want?
They don't want nobody.
Don't you want to
Yeah,
do it for
yeah.
them? Wouldn't you want to do it for them though?
No,
No?
you know, Ivan and Jerry, they already know what I want exactly.
I think that this agent is making a mistake of trying to justify cost with value. And one of the things that I always train the agents about is that you have to make sure that people are convinced that a whole life policy is the answer for them first, making sure you're on the same page. And then the FCGS is just the cherry on the top. What has me kind of concerned is the significant difference in cost between the $20,000 policy at the other company and the I think it was $15,000 policy with us. I think it was a very significant difference. So there's something that we're missing that we're not covering. And I think the mistake here is taking maybe a deeper dive into the quote. I might have even offered to contact the other company and confirm that they had the date of birth correct, they had the health questions correct, that it was a whole life policy, that nothing was going to change as far as the price goes, and then have something more comparable to look at, because the FCGS doesn't matter if we can't get over the difference in the price. And this price difference was too significant for the FCGS to just sell it. You know, the FCGS as a Lincoln Heritage agent is not the be all end all of selling a life insurance policy. We still have to make sure it is affordable and competitive, and the amount of coverage that we are providing our clients makes sense, right? We can't just say, oh, you could get 10,000 with us for a lower price because of the FCGS instead of 20,000 with someone else. Like, that's actually doing your clients a disservice, and you're losing sight of what it is to be a life insurance agent. So too often, sometimes agents use the FCGS as a crutch, and possibly other insurance companies that have something like this, possibly Senior Life. I don't know their pricing schedule. If you're watching this and you are with Senior Life, do not use Legacy Assurance as your crutch to sell the policy. Right, you have to make sure that you're doing critical thinking about the prices that you're comparing to make sure that your customer is actually getting what they think they're getting first and foremost. The other stuff is just a cherry on the top. So I think that we just went in the wrong direction here, trying to justify value and ignoring the cost, and that is a big mistake. Good lesson though. We'll move on.
If you did put a policy that really you just want to take care of cremation, maybe transportation to where you need to be to crematory, and then just have that done, you could put something in place that's about like $2,500. And if you look at that, that's going to be $34.20. $3,000 policy is going to be a $40.
Is that a month or is that a year? What is that?
That's a monthly payment. It'll be a monthly payment.
$35 a month. So after a year, I will spend $3,400 plus, what was it? $34 a month?
Yeah,
$36, $58. So it'd be $3,464 for a year.
No.
Right?
Well, a year would be
Something like that.
a year would be $400.08, roughly. Well, actually, let me get
Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
Keep going. I'll make you some money somehow, baby.
Oh.
Okay.
So it would be $410.08 or $410.40 if you did it for the year. $3,000 again, it's going to be $40.44. And then if you did do like a $5,000 policy, that's going to be $65.40. But like I said, you already have your $10,000 in place.
Why would I do a $5,000 thing? You know, I'm not rich.
okay, I need to go to the lease. I can't, okay?
Yeah. Lowest, so that would be $15 a month. The face value would be $962.
So he said he wanted the cheapest. The lowest we can go is $15 a month for whatever coverage that would provide. And it doesn't matter how much coverage you get with us. It does come with the free FCGS membership. I'm not sure this guy is motivated by what we're offering. I think he's motivated by the agent. I think there's some flirting going on here, and I don't think this is going to end in a sale. So let's see what happens.
So pretty much the cremation would be paid for.
Well, I would like to, I'm a gambler, okay? And I'm gonna say that I'm gonna live a little bit longer than you guys think. So could I sign up for the $15 a month? And when I'm changing banks right now. So what I will do is ask you to send me the paper that I need to fill out and give to the bank so that they take it out every month without me seeing it. You know what I mean?
So if you have a change of address, change of beneficiary, account information, you would just call me. I'm going to give you my direct line, and then I would help with anything that you need from here on out, you and your daughter. So yeah, next step is just kind of make it down.
If you could send it to my my email through my, is that right? Email? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
No, not email. Email is me. That would be my email address. Yeah.
So this is only a couple of more minutes long. It looks like she did just send him the email. I mean, you got to think about how much work do you really want to fight for $15 a month? Is this, policy something worth continuing moving for, or do we just let it go? You have to really think about what your time is worth. And I think in this case, I just have a feeling that he's trying to do me a favor as opposed to me doing him a favor. And that's not the position you want to be in, right? We have something very valuable to offer, whether you have the FCGS or not. You have a life insurance policy that is ultimately going to protect the family. But that's not what this conversation turned into. And it's making me a little bit uncomfortable. And so I think I may have just, let it go and see what happened. Maybe saying something to the effect of, I'm not sure if this is even going to be a good fit for you at this point. It sounds like you're well insured. If we really can't afford to get, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in coverage to really make a significant difference, I think it makes sense to just part ways. And sometimes you just have to know when to choose your battles. I think that's the most appropriate thing. All right, I'm going to pick one more call for part 1 of this series because I think we're going to quickly run out of time in my 2-hour editing slot. So who are we going to pick?
That's good. That's good. Maybe, like myself, send us something in the mail and we'll both sit down and read it and look at it and we'll make a final decision.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. You guys have a...
Stuff.
It's okay. I think it's when I get it. It's not a problem. Does it all sound like something you would want to have? I mean, is it even something that?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to pause here really quick because we literally just heard the agent say, okay, well, you guys have a great day, and then get caught off and then said, and I literally heard her brain say, no, I'm going to try objection handling. And I think we just transitioned into that. So I'm excited to hear what happens next.
Hey, I wish I could get $1 million policy on her. That would change my entire life, but that's not going to happen.
Well, what about the policies you guys like the most?
I like the fact that you said that they handle the
funeral part of it, the burning, cremation. They handle all that. You're right. This is my mom, and I'm very close to her. I'm a very, normally I handle things real well, but when it comes time for my mom to die, I don't know where my head's going to be. You know what I'm saying?
Well, most people.
But what I really want you to get out of what is happening right now is by simply just asking the question, can I just ask if this is something you even want to have? It opened up the conversation again, instead of immediately just pushing for the approval or saying something like, well, life insurance isn't something you can buy, you have to get approved for, and fighting with the objection. What she did was drop the rope, lower the sales resistance, and just go back to asking, like, what do you even want, right? So now we're opening the conversation up again. We're going to get back to the emotional need, and then we're going to ask for money a second time. I'm going to fast forward a little bit so we can get back to that part.
And that, I'll tell you what, that's from day one. There's no waiting period on accidental death. The only waiting period that you have is for medical.
Okay.
So you have that. Accidental death is from day one.
I mean, somewhere I have a list of all their medications if you wanted to take them all down.
Well, like I said, what we could do is to be totally accurate with you.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we could just run her. I can't, but I can transfer you guys to Lincoln Heritage. I'd be on. And then they would run it for you and confirm it. And then you can just pick when you want the plan to start. Oh, so let me tell you. So if you went to a $5,000 policy with all that accidental death coverage maxed out, that's going to be $116.80 a month.
I think we could work that.
Okay. All right. So then what I need, that's totally fine. Then what I need to do, tell me your mom's name.
Perfect. We're writing the application. And so it was wonky, but it worked out, right? This literally went from, okay, have a good day, send me the information, okay, you guys have a good day, to pause, let's stop, let's go out of pricing and logic-based thinking. Let's go back to value and emotion-based thinking and figure out how to somehow meet in the middle. And they got there, right? They got there. And the most important lesson from this call is most people have that sales resistance when you initially give them the price. And because we have transitioned from emotional thinking to logic thinking, and we have to kind of merge the two, and objection handling is a mandatory part of the sales process. You have to expect that once you give price, it's not always going to be, let's pick that one and move forward. You're going to have people that will be hesitant, that will want to make sure they're making the right choice. And it's your job as the sales professional to continue to educate and reassure them that what they're doing is the right choice, and having them tell you why. And if you can do all that in the right way, you will end up helping a lot more families, selling a lot more policies, and actually enjoying being an agent selling final expense insurance. All right, we are going to stop here. I don't even think we got halfway. In fact, we probably got 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know. We didn't even get halfway. This is really long. So, but again, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I will see you next time. And I'll probably have a video in between because these videos take forever. Anyway, my name is Dana. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.